Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask the CEO with Avrohom. Today, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. He is the CEO of Buurst, a company that provides trusted cloud-native tools for data control, performance, and availability on many cloud platforms. Their virtual storage appliances help customers migrate on-premises data to the cloud, better manage that data, and allow applications to run at the same high performance that customers expect from their on-premises storage. As part of this discussion, we will share how the partnership with Microsoft, their use of Azure, and the Azure Marketplace have empowered them to scale and grow their business. It is my pleasure to welcome Garry Olah. Welcome, Garry.
Thank you, Avrohom. How are things today?
Oh, things are amazing. We're here in the New York City area, and as far as I know, it's actually opening up. So life is coming back.
That's great. Same here in Seattle, and it's good. It's good times. People are feeling energized again, so it's good.
Exactly. Well, Garry, I'm excited to be speaking to you today. Let's talk about the technology that we all know and love. So cloud is now a mature technology, and many businesses are moving their mission-critical applications to the cloud. Now, one of the byproducts of digital transformation and moving to the cloud is the large amount of data that's generated by all of our connected devices. Because cloud is so commonplace, we tend to take for granted, as well as we should, things like low latency access to our virtually unlimited ubiquitous cloud storage of our data. However, as a technologist, I can appreciate that a lot goes on under the hood to make these things work properly. What are the challenges that businesses struggle with when migrating mission-critical applications to the cloud?
Well, that is a great question, and it's kind of the core of what I spent the last decade of my life doing. And I've been doing enterprise for a long time, since the 90s, and I was at BMC Software and Citrix and big companies, but I've also worked at a lot of startups, so I've seen a lot of things and talked to a lot of customers. And what I've realized is two things. The early cloud adopters were built for the cloud. So you had large companies with customer of ours, Netflix, that built their infrastructure on cloud infrastructure. And so it was organized that way and it was created that way. But most of IT, most of the ISVs have on-prem solutions. And so they've all tried to lift and shift and drop these things on the cloud, and then they usually fail. And it's because the infrastructure that they had on-prem with their NAS infrastructure and their server infrastructure was just very different. Even if it was a VMware type of infrastructure, it was different than what they expect in the cloud. And so they wanted better performance and they wanted better economics, and they weren't getting it. And so early cloud native was really rough. And so we saw that, and literally I have talked to hundreds of customers, and they all had the same exact journey. We tried to do it this way, this didn't work, that didn't work. Or in order for me to do it, I had to spend so much money that it was cost prohibitive. It was no longer an economic gain. What cloud infrastructure companies have done is that put together incredible performance on demand and great price reduction as well, but you've got to know how to leverage it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, I know a company that mistook cloud for the term hosted, and they would just like you said, take their on-premise solution and just host it on the cloud, and then they called it cloud, but it really didn't have that scalability and performance like the cloud.
Absolutely.
So what can people do about that? How can they leverage cloud in the right way?
Well, I think the other thing that customers think about right now more than anything else, and if you know anything about what's happened to data in the last decade, is it's basically doubling every 2 years. So the amount of data that you have, and that scares the heck out of customers, because if they look at their budget today, they're not going to get a 2x budget next year. Nobody does that, right? So what am I going to do when I can no longer afford my data? Is a fear you see in CIOs' faces, because they want to create more data. We're all data junkies now, right? So, but what do I do when I can no longer create my, afford my data? And what we look at is a couple of things. What's really important to us is, number one, how do we get the hot, we need to think about enterprise type features that you have in the data world. Like the first thing and foremost is data performance. How do I get the most performance out of my data? And a lot of that has to do with the type of storage you put it on, the amount of memory you allocate to it, the amount of processor you allocate to it, et cetera. So how do I, maximize that? At the same time, what are the enterprise type features like dedupe and compression and things I can leverage on top of that infrastructure to help to get me the best possible price? So to me, it's two things. It's best possible performance at the best possible price. How do I find that nice mix?
Yeah, I really love that. I know from a consumer perspective, so like, from a personal level, we all started using cloud when all these cloud services, cloud storage services, like Google Drive, Dropbox, and things like that. And it seems like the pricing for the consumer versions sort of kept up with the pace of the data. It used to be,
Right.
A few hundred megabytes and then a few hundred gigabytes and a terabyte and 2 terabytes. But cloud storage, it's like the way you open this up, where there's a difference between cloud and hosted. It's one thing to back up your data, cloud backup, but then there's the cloud storage. And that has not risen in capacity in terms of that pricing. So I really love the way you put that. Yeah. So let's talk about your company. So Buurst recently launched a new offering on the Microsoft Azure Marketplace called SoftNAS. So tell us about it and how it addresses some of the challenges we just discussed.
Yeah, so I took over at SoftNAS late last year. The company was called SoftNAS. We actually just rebranded as Buurst earlier this year. It's what you do in a global pandemic. You rebrand and reposition the company. And we went from being, and SoftNAS is the leading cloud NAS solution. We were built in the cloud. We're cloud native, born in the cloud. We work on all cloud platforms. And our goal is really simple. How do we give customers the maximum performance of their data? So we said, customers buy performance, they buy value. They're really not looking for a NAS on Azure, okay? And so we rethought the company as a data performance company, because data performance is where we wanted to focus. The other thing that's interesting is that the entire storage industry is old, okay? It's some of the oldest companies in our industry, like NetApp and EMC, et cetera, have kind of built this world that we live in, and it's got a legacy thought. It wasn't built with the explosion of data that we have today. And so this idea of paying a storage tax, the more data, as you mentioned, the more data, the more I have to pay is kind of going out the window. And especially with millennials and others, they're like, I need more data.
We live on data.
That's right. So, you think about IoT and the amount of, cameras in the system, et cetera. I mean, we're seeing explosions that are going to, I don't know how much data we're going to have in 5 years. I really don't. I think it could be 20x what we have today.
I've already heard terms of zettabytes. I've spoken to business, and that's going to get old soon.
Yeah, and customers that we have that think about that we're thinking about terabytes just a short period ago. We're now all talking about petabytes of data and managing petabytes of data. So, and there are a lot of problems with that. I mean, and they know it. To me, it's a couple of things. I think about one of our customers, Halliburton, oil and gas, obviously decimated by COVID, but more importantly, decimated by the fact that oil dropped to nothing, right? And so you're in that industry, you're living it. And so now they've got all new problems. They've got work from anywhere. They've got everybody working at home now. So how do I increase my cloud infrastructure? And what do I do? How do I support all my customers who want to work from anywhere? Right? And all of these things are accelerating cloud migration, in really big ways. And so we help them stay relevant with their customers by accelerating their cloud growth. And we really help them keep their costs down, because when you can go into somebody today and say, look, okay, I know you're struggling right now. Let's see what we can do to help cut 20-30% out of your budget. Okay, I think we can do it. And it's not me taking the hit. Yes, I will take a hit. It's the fact that I can reduce the cost of the underlying cloud infrastructure. And the cloud vendors love it, because the cloud vendors want you to get value and grow that data.
Yeah. Great. So how would a company use your solution with Azure?
Yeah, so we not only were a pioneer in this space, but we've always executed through the marketplaces. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I'm an old student of our industry, and I've watched the evolution to cloud. And we started out with very direct sales models, then we moved to channel models and hybrid models, and now we are in this cloud era. Okay, and marketplaces are the game, and it puts Microsoft and Amazon and Google at the center of the universe with the relationship with the customer. But it also better enables a channel, better enables selling. Okay, and so you have to think about how you best leverage that. So we execute through the marketplace, and what happens is customers go in to the Azure Marketplace, they see us, we have a free trial, they use our stuff, they try it, they're up and running usually in 5 clicks in 7 minutes. Okay. And they're moving data and they're playing with it and saying, hey, this is pretty interesting. So we have a very, very short sales cycle once they're in that demo and in that environment. And it's their real environment. It's working. It's billing through their Azure mechanism. There's no contract that needs to happen. And all of my biggest customers, companies like Schlumberger and Halliburton and Netflix and ExxonMobil and Warner Music, they all found us that way. They found us through the marketplace. And so there's magic to that. Okay. Yeah. And that's the thing that gets me most excited about this business. And I walk the show floors of the biggest cloud shows, and you see all these big companies that have been legacy companies doing this for a while. They still don't get that. They're still not seeing the value in the marketplaces. They're in there, but they're in there in a very loose way. We're embedded and we leverage it. And that's a really, really important part of our business and our business model.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. I love the way it's integrated into that marketplace. So how would customers find out more about SoftNAS and procure it through the Azure Marketplace?
As I mentioned, you can go to the marketplace and just download our stuff. But the two things that we're doing right now that are really interesting is, number one, the marketplace has allowed us to become international. We execute in 39 countries worldwide. And for a startup, that's an awful lot. And most companies don't do that. And we have partners all over the world. I mean, Microsoft brought us a company called Software One. They're in APAC, and we're growing in APAC at levels that we've never seen before. We have, dozens of people trained on our platform that don't work for us, and it's an amazing leverage. So that is key. But you can go to our webpage if you're interested in becoming a reseller. Go to our partner page. It's right there. It's clear. We'll talk to you. We'll give you everything you need to know. We're signing partners up. Really strategic partners who really see value in this. Customers really just can go trial us in the Azure Marketplace. You can contact Buurst directly. You can send me an email. Okay. Either way, we'll help you. And we're all about helping you find a way to forward your data.
Awesome. And you touched upon the value of working together with Microsoft. Can you elaborate on how has partnering with Microsoft helped Buurst scale and grow your business?
Yeah. So I've been partnering with Microsoft for a long, long time. I've been ISV of the year multiple times at companies like Citrix and others. And I love working with Microsoft, and it's mainly because of their partners. They are partner first, and they've always been partner first, and they always will be. And it's not just people like us, it's other people. It's all the feet on the street that don't necessarily work for Microsoft. So that is the power and the leverage of Microsoft. The other thing is their field organization is really empowered to help customers migrate and be successful in the cloud. Okay, so aligning with them is really, really important to us. And so we look at the partnership with Microsoft. We think about how we align with their partners, okay, not just them, how we align with their field organization, and how we best take advantage of the underlying platform to give customers the best value. Those are the three big things. And Microsoft is unique in the fact that they enable on all three fronts.
Wonderful. Garry, how do people connect with you?
So if you go to Buurst.com, Buurst, there's two U's in Buurst.
Because it's a big burst.
It's a big burst. It's not a small burst. You can learn about us. There's plenty of ways that we connect you to the marketplaces right there. You can start trialing us. If you already have an Azure account, or you can be enabled there. But you can also just send me an email, Garry@Buurst.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
Great, and I'll post that to the show notes so people can just click on that and get right to you.
Yeah.
Garry, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you to our customers for going through this journey with us. We know that 2020 has been an interesting year. And I think everybody would like to park 2020 behind us, but we feel empowered by the second half of the year. We think that cloud migration is going to be the thing that gets us out of this hole in a bigger way. And you're seeing those type of projects. But more importantly, we believe that and just the fact that as you look at the number of people that are looking at data, okay, for COVID research, et cetera, we're seeing bigger explosions in this. And so the need to have better access, higher performing data is greater than ever. And we're here to help.
Wonderful. Garry, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
All right. I enjoyed being here, Aaron.